Hey, Stan Deaton with the Georgia Historical Society. Welcome back. You may remember from this week a year ago, and you may not, I did a dispatch about National Library Week, talking about some of the libraries that I've loved that have played such an influential role in my life. April is also National Poetry Month, and I thought it might be fun and a good time to talk about the power of poetry as a form of literature and a poem that I have loved all of my life that has meant a great deal to me and share it with you. Now, I don't claim to be a poet. I'm certainly not. I'm not a critic of poetry. I'm simply a lover and reader of poetry. I've been reading it really for as long as I've been able to read in my life. Two of my most cherished possessions are two books of poetry that were left to me by my grandmother, including this one, 101 Famous Poems. It has her name here written on the title page, which is, of course, one of the reasons that I cherish it. But this meant a great deal to her, and she kept it on her bedside table. And whenever she read anything in a newspaper or a magazine or some other medium that meant a great deal to her, she would clip it out and put it inside this book. And really, that's one of the things that makes it so great, are all the things that I know she clipped with her own hands, made notes on, or put in here. And it's marked, by the way, at one of her favorite poems. This is Solitude by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. You probably know the first two lines. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Cry and you cry alone. It was one of her favorite poems, and we've all memorized snippets of poetry like that. Maybe not the whole thing, but we know snippets of poems that might mean a great deal to us. It might be Shakespeare when he has someone describe the influence and the impact of the death of Romeo. And when he shall die, take and cut him out in little stars, and he shall make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night. It might be a poem like Wilcox's. It might be Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken, in which he says, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Robert Frost is one of my favorite poets. He, of course, is a giant of 20th century poetry, a winner of 4 Pulitzer Prizes for poetry. He famously spoke at John F. Kennedy's inaugural and planned to recite a poem that he wrote for the occasion entitled Dedication. The sunlight was so bright, the glare so bright that afternoon that he couldn't see his notes on the podium, and instead he recited from memory his own poem, The Gift Outright. He also, as I mentioned, wrote The Road Not Taken, which is probably his most famous poem, Mending Wall, and hundreds of others, many of them about his beloved New England. My favorite, and the one that I committed to memory so long ago that I don't remember when I memorized it, I don't remember not knowing it, but it meant so much to me that I decided that I wanted to have it with me always, to draw inspiration from and to bring peace of mind when I needed it. It's entitled Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. And really, it's a very simple, small poem, short poem about a man who stops in the middle of a busy day, stops his sleigh to watch snowfall in a patch of woods. And the woods themselves are deep and dark and lovely, and they sort of pull him in. And as one critic said, at the heart of this poem is the insistent whisper of death at the very heart of life. And the narrator of this poem, in the end, resists the lovely and dark woods because the call and the press of business call him back to his own life, and he moves on. But something about this poem that takes place in winter, one of my favorite seasons. It evokes the woods, as I love the woods and the outdoors. It evokes stopping on a busy day to simply enjoy a moment of beauty, a place of beauty, and a moment of solitude. Something about it spoke to me, and I wanted to memorize it, and I did. And I want to share it with you now. Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound's the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have many promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep. Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost, written in 1922, 99 years ago, and first published in a collection entitled New Hampshire in 1923, for which Frost won his first Pulitzer Prize. This poem, Frost said, was his greatest bid, his best bid for remembrance. And remember him we do. Robert Frost died in January 1963 at the age of 88 and is buried in Old Bennington Cemetery in Bennington, Vermont, in the heart of the New England that he wrote about and loved so much. I hope for National Poetry Month that you'll find a poet and a poem that you've always loved and maybe commit it to memory. Keep it with you always. Stay safe, stay strong. I'm Stan Deaton with the Georgia Historical Society. As always, thank you for watching.